Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Starting in the UAE, the Khalij Times leads its front page reporting that two bombs targeting security posts near Cairo University exploded in quick succession yesterday, killing a police general, followed by a third blast as police and journalists gathered at the scene. The paper also reports that Sheikh Mohammed has launched the 100 million dirhams Al Jalila Medical Research Centre, the first independent centre of its kind in the UAE to focus efforts on the 5 most common diseases of the country, including obesity. From Saudi Arabia, the Arab News leads its front page reporting that King Abdullah has ordered the establishment of 3 new universities, bringing the total number of public universities in the kingdom to 28. It also reports that Pakistan has rejected a request from former President Pervez Musharraf to go abroad for medical treatment and see his ailing mother, as it could make it difficult for the government to bring him to court once he leaves the country. Israel's Jerusalem Post continues coverage on the Palestine and Israel peace negotiations, saying the US continued intensive efforts to salvage the peace talks with US Middle East envoy Martin Indyk, hastily convening a meeting with Israeli and Palestinian negotiators, that indicated, according to one diplomatic source, that the ball is still in play. The paper also reports that the crippling 11-day foreign ministry strike that closed embassies abroad and prevented high-profile visits both to and from Israel ended last night, as the Treasury and Ministry's Workers' Committee signed a labour agreement. Egypt Independent leads reporting that the Muslim Brotherhood activist Abdul Rahman Ez has described the 3 blasts that broke out outside Cairo University yesterday as suicide attacks against police and military of occupation. The paper also reports that Major General Adil Labib, the Administrative and Local Development Minister, has said 625,000 new voters have been added to the database since the last update made since the referendum on constitutional amendments until 20th of March. Lebanon's Daily Star leads reporting that the UN Refugee Agency has said that the number of Syrians who have fled the 3-year war in their country and registered as refugees in Lebanon has surpassed 1 million. It also reports that the Brotherhood has urged Britain not to bow to foreign pressure in conducting a review of the group over concerns about possible links to violence, following its designation by Egypt and Saudi Arabia as a terrorist organisation. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines from UK papers. The Telegraph leads its Middle East section reporting that Palestinian officials have declared Middle East peace talks will come to a complete end unless Israel honours its promise to free prisoners who have spent more than 20 years in jail, as American officials scrambled to keep an ailing negotiating process from finally dying. The Independent leads its Middle East section reporting that Iran's decision to appoint a member of the group behind the 1979 seizure of the US Embassy in Tehran as its ambassador to the UN has angered US lawmakers, prompting Senator Ted Cruz to propose a law that would prevent Hamid Abu Talibi, now a veteran diplomat, from entering the US. The paper says his prospective appointment to the UN will further complicate negotiations between Tehran and the White House. The Guardian leads its Middle East section reporting that the UN has said the number of refugees who have fled Syria and registered in Lebanon has exceeded 1 million. Refugees from Syria, half of them children, now equal a quarter of Lebanon's resident population, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees said, warning that most of them live in poverty and depend on aid for survival. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East stories in international papers. China's Global Times says a surprise decision by President Mahmoud Abbas to sign more than a dozen international conventions giving Palestinians greater leverage against Israel left the US struggling to put peace talks back on track. The documents Abbas signed, officials said, included the Geneva Convention, the key international law on the conduct of war and occupation. The LA Times reports that Turkey's Constitutional Court has ruled unanimously that the government must end the suspension that was imposed on the 20th of March after Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed to wipe out Twitter. The court added that the ban on access to Twitter violates citizens' right to free expression. And finally, the Wall Street Journal reports that the Obama administration vowed to continue its pursuit of Middle East diplomacy, despite eroding hopes that peace talks can survive beyond a looming deadline and a growing war of words between Israeli and Palestinian leaders. Despite the setback, US officials said abandoning their mediating role risked widening the gulf between Netanyahu's government and Mr. Abbas, which could lead to unrest in Palestinian territories that have largely been stable in recent years. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.